The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. Tom Sawyer lived with his Aunt Polly in a small town near the Mississippi River. He was a clever and lively boy who did not like school or work. He preferred playing with his friends, swimming in the river, and having adventures. One Saturday morning, Aunt Polly told Tom to paint the fence. It was a long white fence, and Tom was not happy. He wanted to go swimming with his friends. As he stood with the brush in his hand, he began to think. Then an idea came to him. When his friend Ben Rogers came by eating an apple, Tom acted very serious. He painted the fence slowly and carefully. Ben stopped and watched. "Hello, Tom. You have to work, don't you?" Ben said, smiling. "Work?" Tom answered. "This isn't work. I like it." Ben was surprised. "You like painting?" "Of course," said Tom. "Does a boy get to paint a fence every day?" Ben looked at the fence and wanted to try. "Tom, let me paint a little," he said. Tom thought for a moment. "I don't know, Ben. Aunt Polly wants it to be perfect." "Please, Tom, I'll give you my apple." "Well," Tom said, "maybe just a little part." Ben took the brush and began to paint. Tom sat down and ate the apple happily. Soon other boys came. They also wanted to paint. One gave Tom a kite. Another gave him a dead rat on a string. Another gave him marbles. By the end of the day, the fence was beautiful, and Tom had many treasures. That evening, Aunt Polly was very pleased when she saw the fence. "Good job, Tom," she said. Tom smiled but said nothing. He learned that to make people want something, you just have to make it look special. The next day was Sunday. Tom and his cousin Sid got ready for church. Aunt Polly wanted them to look clean and polite. Tom didn't like it, but he obeyed. In church he tried to sit still, but it was difficult. The sermon was long and Tom felt bored. He played with a little black bug he had caught in a box. When the bug started to walk on the floor, everyone in church tried not to laugh. Aunt Polly looked angry, but even she smiled a little. After church, Tom met his best friend, Huckleberry Finn. Huck was a free boy. He had no parents, no school, and no rules. He could go where he wanted and do what he liked. Tom admired him very much. Huck said, "Tom, do you know how to get rid of warts?" "No, how?" Tom asked. "You take a dead cat to the graveyard at midnight," Huck whispered. "When the devil comes to take a bad man's soul, you throw the cat after him. Then your wart will go away." Tom thought this was wonderful. He wanted to go with Huck that night. Later that day, Tom saw a new girl in town. Her name was Becky Thatcher. She had yellow hair and blue eyes. Tom fell in love at once. He wanted to impress her. He walked past her house many times and tried to look brave. At school on Monday, Tom sat near Becky. When the teacher turned around, Tom drew a picture on his slate. Becky looked at it and smiled. "Do you like it?" Tom asked. "Yes," Becky said softly. "Then say you'll be my friend," said Tom. "I will," she said, and they shook hands. "Now we are engaged," Tom said proudly. "You have to say, 'I love you.'" Becky blushed and whispered, "I love you." Tom was very happy. But then he said something foolish. He told Becky that he had been engaged before to another girl, Amy Lawrence. Becky was hurt. She turned away and began to cry. Tom tried to say he was sorry, but she wouldn't listen. Finally, he walked away sadly, wishing he had kept quiet. That night, when the moon was full, Tom quietly climbed out of his bedroom window. Huck Finn was waiting for him with a dead cat in a bag. The boys walked silently through the dark streets until they reached the old graveyard on the hill. The wind made the trees move and whisper. The boys were a little afraid, but they wanted to be brave. They hid behind some bushes and waited. Suddenly, they saw 3 men coming. One was the town doctor, Dr. Robinson. The second was Muff Potter, a kind but foolish man who often drank too much. The third was Injun Joe, a dangerous half-Indian man with angry eyes. The men were digging up a grave. Tom and Huck were shocked. Dr. Robinson wanted to take the body for medical study, and he had paid the other 2 men to help him. When the grave was open, Muff Potter asked for more money. Injun Joe was angry. He said, "5 years ago you turned me away when I was hungry, Doctor. Now I'll have my revenge." He picked up Muff's knife and attacked the doctor. The doctor hit Muff with a board and Muff fell to the ground. Then Injun Joe stabbed Dr. Robinson with a knife. The doctor fell dead. Tom and Huck were terrified. They ran away as fast as they could and didn't stop until they were safe in Tom's room. Their hearts were beating fast. The next morning, the town was full of news. Dr. Robinson was dead. Muff Potter was found near the grave with blood on his hands and the knife beside him. He didn't remember what happened because he was drunk, and Injun Joe told everyone that Muff was the murderer. Tom and Huck knew the truth, but they were too afraid to speak. "If we tell," said Tom, "Injun Joe will kill us." They swore a secret oath. They wrote it in blood on a small piece of paper and buried it under a big rock. "We'll never tell anyone," said Huck. "Never." That night, Tom could not sleep. He saw the face of Muff Potter in his dreams, and he felt sorry for him, but he was also very afraid of Injun Joe. One warm summer day, Tom felt unhappy. Becky still didn't speak to him, and Aunt Polly was angry because he didn't do his chores. He met his friend Joe Harper, who also felt sad. A little later they met Huck Finn. Tom said, "Let's run away. Let's go where no one can tell us what to do." "Where can we go?" asked Joe. "To Jackson's Island," said Tom. "It's in the middle of the Mississippi River. We can live like pirates." The boys were excited. That night they met by the river, took a small raft, and sailed away. The moon was bright and the water was calm. They reached the island and made a fire. They cooked meat, fished, and played. They called themselves pirates. Tom Sawyer, the Black Avenger of the Spanish Main, Huck Finn, the Red-Handed, and Joe Harper, the Terror of the Seas. The boys were free and happy. They swam in the river, lay on the grass and watched the clouds. They talked and laughed until late at night. But after a few days, Tom began to think of home. He missed Aunt Polly and Becky. Joe also missed his mother. Then one morning they heard the sound of a cannon from the town. They went to the riverbank and saw boats on the water. People were searching for something. Tom suddenly understood. The town thought they were dead. That night, while Huck and Joe were sleeping, Tom swam across the river and went quietly into Aunt Polly's house. He heard her crying and talking to Mary and Sid. They were sad because they thought Tom was drowned. Tom wanted to tell her he was alive, but he didn't. He wanted to surprise everyone. He swam back to the island and told his friends, "They think we're dead. We can go back on Sunday during our own funeral." The boys laughed and planned their big return. On Sunday, the church was full. Everyone was crying for the dead boys. Suddenly, the church door opened, and Tom, Huck, and Joe walked in, smiling. The people were shocked, then shouted with joy. Aunt Polly hugged Tom and cried, "Oh, my boy, my boy." Everyone was happy. Tom enjoyed the moment. For one day he was the hero of the town. After the big adventure on the island, Tom became a hero in the town. Everyone liked him again. Even Becky smiled at him, and soon they were friends once more. School began, and life went back to normal. Almost. Sometimes Tom and Huck talked about the murder of Dr. Robinson. Muff Potter was still in jail, and the trial was coming soon. Tom felt guilty because he knew Muff was innocent. Finally, his heart couldn't bear it anymore. At the trial, everyone in town came to watch. Injun Joe sat near the front, calm and cold. Muff Potter looked sad and tired. The lawyer called Tom Sawyer to the witness stand. The room became silent. Tom's voice shook as he told the story of that terrible night. How Dr. Robinson fought with the men and how Injun Joe killed him. When Tom pointed to Injun Joe, the man jumped up, his eyes wild with anger, and ran out of the window. Everyone screamed. Muff Potter was free at last. Tom was praised for his bravery, but he lived in fear that Injun Joe might return. Summer came again, and the children went on picnics. One day, Tom and Becky joined a group of friends to visit McDougal's cave. Inside, they walked through the dark tunnels with candles, laughing and shouting. But after some time, Tom and Becky noticed they were alone. They had taken a wrong path. They tried to find the way back, but all the tunnels looked the same. Their candles burned low. They called for help, but no one answered. They were lost. For 2 days they wandered in the dark cave. Becky cried and became weak. Tom tried to be brave and save their candles. Once, while exploring, he saw a man in the darkness. It was Injun Joe. Tom froze in fear, but the man didn't see him and disappeared into another tunnel. At last, Tom found a small opening with light. He and Becky crawled through it and saw the river. People found them the next morning. The town celebrated their return. A few days later, the sheriff said that Injun Joe was trapped inside the cave. When they opened it, they found him dead. The story of the cave became famous. Weeks passed, and Tom and Huck decided to visit the cave again. Deep inside, they discovered a box of gold coins that Injun Joe had hidden. It was a real treasure. They took it to the judge, who said, "The money is yours, boys. You found it." Each boy received thousands of dollars. Huck became rich and went to live with the widow Douglas, who promised to care for him. Tom was proud and happy. He still dreamed of new adventures, because in his heart, Tom Sawyer would always be a boy who loved freedom and excitement.